So if you remember in the previous video, we went out to Home Depot and bought all of our wood for our workbench, our jointer's workbench that we're building. We bought a bunch of these 2x4s, but these are like not traditional 2x4s. These are sold like in the hardwood section. They're select pine boards. They're a little more expensive than a 2x4. They don't have the rounded corners. They're nice, clean pine. They don't have knots or anything in them. You're going to pay a premium for that, but you don't have to worry about having knots and the really bad twisted warped things that you get from Home Depot. So I went through all the boards other than these three, and I have cut them down to size. I'm building the bench to 5 feet. So I cut the boards to 61 inches long, just to give me a little bit of wiggle room after I do the glue up to be able to square everything up and make it perfect. All right, so the first thing I'm doing is I take a board over here to my bench, I pull it up, and I sight down the top of it and the side of it. And I'm looking for any bow or any curve or anything, insets, something that's not straight. And I'm trying to see, can I cut that out of my 61 inches that I need out of this board? Can I cut it out of that? And I'm looking through and I'm looking to see, are there any knots in the top of this board? I'm not seeing any in the top, so I don't have to cut any of that out. But if you do see any knots or anything, you could cut that out. Any defects like that, there's a ding in it. You know, again, it's a workbench, but not that big of a deal. So I am going to use this side for my top. I think that looks the best visually. And I'm going to measure out 61 inches from this edge, rip it off or cut it off, and figure out which way my grain direction is going. That is pointing really good in this direction. That is my grain direction. So I'm just going to put an arrow on top of here, pointing in that direction. Going this way with the board is fine along this whole stretch, except for some reason right here, I'm getting a lot of tear out. If I come the other way, it's bad along the whole board. So in this case, I'm going in this direction with my grain because it's just the best direction on this board I can go with. So going with that for now. We'll see if that pays off in the end. So I've got all my boards now sitting on top of these sawhorses on top of bar clamps. This is going to be my main workbench surface. I know some people have like 8-foot long benches, some people have 6. I think 5 is perfect for me. So far I've been working on that plywood bench over there that's probably 7 feet long, but I work on like a small section of it. That's where I do 95% of all my work. I think this is more than enough. I've been using this table behind me as kind of a makeshift workbench for the past few months just to see, am I okay with this size? So this is about the same size as this one back here. It's going to be a little bit longer once I get the tool board on, or the tool well in and the end boards, but this is going to be the main surface. So I'm going to start by laminating this all together. And what I mean by laminate is I'm going to glue all of these and clamp them to make one solid board here. Thing's going to be super sturdy, super thick, and durable. What that does is it gives me a really solid surface to chisel on. So right now when I'm chiseling wood, I'm getting a lot of bounce back because that plywood bench that I use has some flex in it. and I'm losing power when I strike and a chisel. That's what the joiner's bench is made for. It's a really stout, heavy top, so it makes woodworking a lot easier so that you can chop better, cut better, have a nice flat level surface to build on. I don't know how flat and level that one is. In fact, it's not really the most level. I've got all my boards lined out and I've got them numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll draw a triangle here on the end of it, you know, just to make sure. But what I'm doing is I'm looking for crowning now. What I don't want is a concave board, because what I want to do is have them all crowned, because then when I plane it, I can plane the center and make it smooth to the ends and make everything level. If I have a dip in any of these boards, that means I have to plane everything else down to that to get it level. So I'm kind of clamping these up and I'm doing like a dry clamp and I'm looking which ones are sticking proud, which ones are sticking under. If I have an under, I'm going to try to flip it over so that that crown comes to the top and we can bring it down after. I'm not so much worried about the underside being flat. I need it flat-ish, but I only need it flat where the legs are going to mount. So I can make the underside, it doesn't matter if it's perfectly flat all the way across and pretty, no one's ever going to see it. You're mainly working on the top. So I'm going to dry clamp these up, look for that, flip all my boards, draw my triangle, start laying this out and start laying some glue down. I have everything laid out, ready to go here to clamp up. I'm going to glue this up with titebond 2. I'm going to put it in this rockler bottle, and then I've got a roller cap to put it on. I'm going to see. I've never tried this one. I'm going to see if it works better than doing zigzags all over and trying to smooth it out. I want good solid lamination all the way through this whole thing. So I'm going to see if I can roll these on, if that'll make it better. I've gotten the rest of my wood for my legs and stuff is underneath here. So I put this like craft paper down to kind of catch some of the squeeze out of the glue. We'll see if that works or not, hopefully. Let's build this thing up, start putting some glue down. Yes, I immediately figured out that that squeeze thing was not going to work. So we're just going to pour it to fill this thing up. Still a little bit cool in Michigan. We're having 40 days, or 40-degree days, so this glue is not exactly the thinnest right now. I bought this Rockler glue set a couple of years ago, and I mainly used just like the little, looks like the end like that's on like a ketchup mustard bottle. I mainly just use that to like put glue in from like bigger bottles into this, and I find this is easier. I've never used this roller top, so I don't know if it's going to work or not. We'll see. If you're using 2x4s or 2x6 or like construction grade lumber, you would probably here want to plane these sides down flat. I'm skipping that step because buying this from the premium pine, right, from Home Depot, it's been ran through a planer already and smoothed, and I've put them up and I've dry clamped it 4 or 5 times now, and I'm confident that when I clamp this up, I'm not going to have any gaps and I'll get solid lamination throughout the whole thing. I'm still going to glue both sides. I don't think that's needed. That's probably going to cause way more squeeze out than I need, but I just want to make sure I don't have any separation in the future. Temperatures really fluctuate here where I'm at. I'm not in a climate controlled shop, so I want to make sure this thing is really glued up well. So it's not bad. I mean, it's not spreading as even as I'd hoped, but it's working pretty good. I can't complain about that. You can see the dry spots and kind of work your way around them. So all right, there's one. Let's do this side. So this puts like ridges in it, so it's supposed to apply enough glue to laminate and move the rest around, which I'd say it's putting more than enough down. So I'll come back when I've got her all glued up and ready to tighten down. So we're just gonna bring these down. I've got both ends clamped, and then I'm gonna put on a lot more clamps, but this keeps it flush. This will keep it flush to the wood, flush to the bottom of these bar clamps. And this is my top, so I'm gonna tighten this up and just snug it down to the point where I bring them all together. So I've got some sticking out there a little bit, just trying to line up all the edges as best as I can. Okay, now just checking everything's up where I want it to be. Everything is down tight to the clamps. I can tighten that down. Tighten that down. I can hear the glue starting to squeeze out. Now I'm going to put one right down the middle. Start bringing the middle together on the top. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Another one up here because I'm not seeing much squeeze out here. So I noticed we do need pressure here. I'm going to let this dry overnight. I'll be back tomorrow when we hopefully have one big giant slab of wood.